Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. Good morning. And it's the next few days are interesting simply because while the mood is not somber, there are events happening on the horizon which could mar trade and sentiment, be it China, MPC, non-farm payrolls, what have you. So let's take stock of everything. First, the global news flow. China missiles have likely flown over Taiwan, stoking tensions, and the countries cancelled the Japan meeting over G7's Taiwan statement. So clearly, there is some bit of geopolitical tension. The belief largely is that it will not result in something untoward. It will be restricted to this, and they had said that they will conduct drills from August 4 to August 7, and therefore by Sunday all will be behind us. Hopefully that is the case, but who knows. uh, but the other interesting piece is that while we may celebrate what's happening to crude as a result of crude coming off, but the point being that the global economy is seeing issues of demand as a result of which uh, there is a fear of a recession. So cooling semiconductor sales have heightened fears of a global recession, and pointing towards the impact of this as well is a statement from Elon Musk, who says that inflation is past peak as component costs trend down. The question is only if that component costs have come down or trending down simply because of lack of demand or supplies reinstated. I would reckon the former, and that is a bit of a worry. Nevertheless, so what happened to equities by and large? I think not too too much in terms of not too many dramatic moves. So even in yesterday's session, um, Nasdaq was marginally in the green, but the other markets are okay. But risk assets are moving up. Bitcoin is a case in point. Currently, okay, 22,903. The question is, can it actually do better? And I think time will tell. But there's a bit of an uptick that is coming into risk assets. So let's wait and watch what happens to that one. Dollar index at 105, US 10 yield at 2.68. So almost steady across all asset classes. And I think the SGX Nifty too would be steady. No great shakes out there. Should be flattish in trade today. Yep, 17,455 is what it indicates. So about a third of a percent or thereabouts. Not too many changes. So what's the trade setup there for? I think the updates on lingering geopolitical tensions will continue to keep equities under check for the day today. The crude downtick does aid sentiment in India, but the MPC meet and US payroll data will be watched out for. However, I think crude must be at its lowest level since the war began. And that, from an India perspective, is great news. But also keep in mind that per se, India used to get crude at a cheaper price any which ways from the Russian purchases. But this should anyways aid sentiment, which is a good sign. The HNI dealing rooms are seeing large bouts of profit booking across multiple mid-cap themes, though. So you got to keep that in mind. For a change, I didn't talk to institutional dealing rooms, a couple of HNI dealing rooms, 3 HNI dealing rooms to be precise. And there is a bout of profit booking happening across mid-cap themes. Now, whether this is nervousness around the valuations that we are at or otherwise remains to be seen, but there's a bout of profit booking for sure. We had an interesting conversation with JM Financial, which were highlighting all the key reasons why they are a bit circumspect upon prospects of equities from these levels going ahead before there is a dip. So maybe a bunch of these things playing out together. Let's wait and watch. Flows continue to be positive though, 1474 crores from the FI side bar purchase number. So that number is looking strong, and that should aid uh, any kind of moves in IT and banking. Maybe I would presume that most of the flows go towards those, but let's wait and watch. Some numbers, and today we'll have Mahindra and Mahindra and Titan amongst the index names, but there's also Paytm, Nika, as well as Motherson Sumi. And Paytm would be more in reason in news even before results, simply because Block, the Jack Dorsey firm, had a underwhelming result reportage in the US, as a result of which, after trading hours, it slid around 7%. Could it have an impact on Paytm immediately on open? Is the question. Stocks to watch, to my mind, Alembic Pharma, and you start usually with the largest ones, but I thought Alembic was important to start off with because the numbers were a howler. Revenues down 5%, EBITDA 94% downtake, EBITDA margin at 1% versus 18%, net loss of 65 crores versus a net profit of 158 crores. Now, could this be one quarter's phenomenon? Who knows, right? But I was looking at the numbers and trying to get some highlights. So gross margins, uh, contracted quite significantly, both YoY and QoQ, on higher input costs and significant price erosion. The US business is facing unprecedented price erosion for Alembic, and there is incremental competition out there too. And there is uncertainty on the US capex monetization, which remains in the minds of analysts. So all of these should therefore mean that Alembic could get hurt today. These days, there's a lot of pre-positioning, so you got to keep that in mind. But net, these numbers don't seem very inspiring. Net. So when I read the two brokerage notes that came in, Jeffries, Dolat Capital, both of them are of the opinion that there is more an uncertainty ahead, and therefore the stock should be reduced. So if you have investments, viewers, in this, then brokerages are saying that we have a good idea to get out of this stock. So keep that in mind. It should have a negative reaction today. Dalmia Bharat, on the other hand, had a reasonably decent outing compared to estimates. But look at those numbers. So, I mean, the stock may well do better because the numbers are above estimates. Revenue is up 27% at 3,302. The expectation was 3,191, so about 2-3% higher. So largely in line. EBITDA 589 versus estimates of 535, a significant beat, so above estimates. EBITDA margin though at 18%. So that is where the issue is, according to me. And even if it's a better than expected quarter, just that the crack in margins was quite significant for Dalmia. The question is, can they improve upon it in the quarters to come, considering the fall in some of the raw materials, not all, but some. I think soda ash uh, or energy costs haven't really gone down, so it remains to be seen. Net profit, of course, fell to 196. The estimates were 144 crores, so that's a positive number compared to Bloomberg estimates. And net debt to EBITDA came off quite significantly, which is also something to watch out for, or just about flattish, really. But yeah, I mean, the numbers aren't the greatest, but they are better than estimates. So maybe the stock reacts. If it does react positively, you know why, that the numbers are slightly better than estimated. Gujarat Alkalis, revenues up 58%, EBITDA up 3x, margins expanded, net profit up 3x. Um, Difficult to find too many faults with this performance. Maybe this one has a positive day today. Balkrishna Industries, though, left a bit to be desired. Revenues up 45%, which is good, but EBITDA fell. Margins cracked really badly. Net profit fell 7% on a 45% revenue uptick. Tells you a story or two, doesn't it? But again, could this recoup in the quarters to come, or will Balkrishna in the con call sound caution around the situation in Europe, and therefore its own sales remains to be seen. Off the road tires and a leader in that space, so to say. Be interesting to hear the con call. If it, I don't think it's happened. I think it's happening today, and which is why I'm saying that it's interesting to hear the con call. So let's wait and watch. BML, well, slightly better than estimated, but uh, net not the best of quarters compared. I mean, it did better. I mean, net loss has fallen, but there's still a net loss. So that's the point. However, viewers, why I think you should be careful about uh, going short on any of these defense names is because of all this geopolitics around. Market at times is a strange animal. There's no connection per se to India or Indian defense stocks, but some of these could well be active today because of all that's happening in China. I mean, when missiles fly over Taiwan, that's a serious thing. And if there is a confrontation buildup that happens in that region, then maybe, just maybe, from a sentiment perspective, some of the defense stock could become active. So do watch out for those. Zinc has had a big rally. It's trading at the highest levels I saw, and therefore Hindustan Zinc could well be one of the key names to watch out for. Glencore has already suspended production at one of its zinc smelters in Europe, leading to a sharp drop in its metal output this year as well. Remember, Europe's energy crisis is posing shutdowns across multiple industries, glass manufacturers, some of these companies like zinc smelters or otherwise, and therefore if prices move up or if some of the business shifts east, it's a positive for, in that sense, some Indian companies. It's not great news, by the way, but yeah, it is happening. And since we have to talk about business, I think it's important to at least mention maybe Hindustan Zinc has a reaction today. Who knows? Some price band changes effective today. So Inox Spin, NRB, and Zen from 5% to 10%, or from a 10% to 20%, the likes of Oil India, Tejas Networks, Himadri Speciality, Easy Trip. Watch out for those. Subex, which has had a big move the last couple of trading sessions. The circuit limit is being revised downwards to 10%. I think 2 days on a trot, it's been locked on a 20% upper circuit because of the JV that it is announced, or because of work profile that it's announced with a large behemoth in the country. But watch out for Subex now. The circuit limits being revised downwards. A couple of Adani Group stocks like Enterprises and Adani Ports and SEZ in focus. Adani Enterprises, that's, I mean, they're paying some for some road assets of Macquarie, so that's okay. But very interesting was Adani Ports and the route that it is on, simply because after doing the JV and buying the Haifa port in Israel, Adani Ports and AD Ports, which is that company in Tanzania, have signed a key agreement for strategic joint investments in end-to-end logistic infrastructure and solutions. It will include rail, maritime services, port operations, digital services, industrial zone, establishment of a maritime academy or maritime academies in Tanzania. This is, I mean, Adani Ports is doing something on a multinational basis, and which is and critical to countries' infrastructures, right? Both in Israel, which is a small acquisition, but nevertheless one, and in Tanzania, it seems to be a much wider agreement. So, quite interesting the route that the Adani Ports is now embarking upon. Standard disclaimer: it's a part of the group that is in the process of acquiring 41% stake in Quintillion Business Media, which is the owner of BQ Prime, which is what you're watching currently. So please, standard disclaimer from our end, let it not escape attention. Last but not the least, MS Morgan Stanley's note on Britannia, overweight with the target price of 3982. The earnings, according to them, are below estimates, but they believe that the revival of out-of-home consumption, companies' efforts on non-biscuit business, and improving margin outlook augur well for earnings and stock performance, and that the management sounded positive on growth outlook. So maybe, just maybe, Britannia has an interesting day today. Um, Net, that's the long and short of the trade setup. Thanks so much, viewers, for tuning in today, and have a safe, profitable day ahead. Keep in mind, it's a busy day today at BQ Prime because we have an interaction with SKF. They came out with a splendid set of numbers, but more importantly, if manufacturing as a theme is doing well, it's great to hear Manish Bhatnagar talk about what could happen going ahead. He's already said that this is a decade of manufacturing. Let's wait and watch from him. Let's wait and hear from him. How do the next few quarters behave in light of the fact that commodity costs have come off? Also, watch out for the MPC decision reviewer, a conversation with Kaushik Das of Deutsche Bank at 2:30, and Rahul Bajoria, Chief India Economist at Barclays. So that's an interesting conversation that will come up as well at 2:30 post the MPC. Of course, we'll bring you the updates from the MPC meet as well during the course of the announcements from the Reserve Bank of India. It's an important day. You don't want to miss that. Thanks so much for tuning in, and everybody have a great weekend.